Patricia was 68 years old. She received the diagnosis in early spring. A routine endoscopy at her local clinic had flagged something, and she was referred to a larger hospital for imaging. She was not worried. She felt fine. She was eating well, sleeping decently. The fatigue she had chalked up to age. Waiting for the results, she still was not frightened. These things usually turn out to be nothing, she told herself. They did not turn out to be nothing. The oncologist said stage 3. There was some spread, he explained. But a combination of surgery and chemotherapy gave her real reason for optimism. He wanted to build a treatment plan together. Patricia nodded and took notes and folded the paperwork into her bag. She was composed walking out of the hospital. She was composed crossing the parking lot. She sat down at the bus stop and her hands started shaking. She sat there holding her purse in her lap while 2 buses came and went. She did not get on either one. She got on the third. At home, she drank a glass of water first. Then she sat on the couch and looked at her phone. In her contacts was her son Daniel's name. She checked when they had last spoken. 2 years and 9 months ago. There was a text more recently than that. About 18 months back, around the holidays. She had sent it. He had not replied. She rested her finger on his name for a moment. Then she took it away. She did not call. The estrangement had started 3 years earlier. Daniel and his wife had come for Thanksgiving. It was their 4th year of marriage. At dinner, Patricia had offered her daughter-in-law a second helping. The daughter-in-law declined. Patricia offered again. Daniel put down his fork and said, "Mom," she said no. "You don't have to push." There was an edge in it. He said it in front of his wife, at the table. With a sharpness Patricia had not expected. She set down her own fork. The meal finished quietly. At the door Daniel said, "Mom, we'll get going." Patricia said, "All right." That was the last real conversation they had. The calls thinned out after that and eventually stopped. Patricia had not cut him off. He had simply not called. Neither of them had made the move to close the distance. And over time it hardened into something permanent. She had told herself she was fine with it. She had managed alone. She believed that. But the day she heard the word stage 3, the first person she wanted to call was Daniel. She did not call him. Chemotherapy began the following month, ahead of surgery. Patricia drove herself to every appointment. She told 2 neighbors, women, she trusted, enough that they could help if something went wrong. Both asked immediately if she had told her son. She said yes. She had not. She had no intention of telling him. The treatments were harder than she expected. She was nauseated for days at a stretch. There were afternoons she could not keep anything down. Her hair started falling out after the 2nd round. She found it in the shower drain and turned the water up higher. And tried not to look. She bought 2 soft hats from a shop downtown. She tried them on in the mirror alone. The face looking back was not quite hers. She did not look long. There were nights she wanted someone there. Particularly the nights she was sick and alone in the dark. She felt the strangeness of suffering without anyone knowing. She would pick up her phone and put it back down. Daniel's name would almost get pressed and then would not. She did not know if not telling him was the right decision. She just kept not telling him. That was what she could manage. Then one evening his name appeared on her screen. No warning. She stared at it through 4 rings and did not answer. He sent a text afterward. "Hey Mom, just thought of you. Hope you're doing okay." Patricia read it and turned her phone face down on the table. After a long time she typed back, "I'm good. Thanks." That was all. She could not have explained exactly why she hadn't answered. Maybe because hearing his voice would have made her say it. Maybe because she was afraid of what he would say when she did. Maybe she did not want to be pitied. Maybe his reaching out after all this time just hurt. All of those things were partly true. Surgery was scheduled. The night before, Patricia sat alone at her kitchen table for a long time. Then she took out 2 pieces of notepaper and wrote a letter to Daniel. It was the kind of letter you write when you are not sure you will be there to explain things yourself. She wrote about the diagnosis, about the months of treatment he didn't know about being sorry she hadn't told him. She wrote about the Thanksgiving dinner, and how the sharpness of what he said had stayed longer than she expected. And how she had not reached out because she couldn't find the way to start, and how she had missed him anyway. She ended the letter like this: "Take care of yourself. Be good to your wife. I never had anything against her. What hurt was the way you spoke to me that day, right there at the table. That was the whole thing. That was all it was. She put the letter in an envelope. She did not send it. She put it in the kitchen drawer. If the surgery went well, she planned to take it out and throw it away. The surgery went well. The surgical team told her the tumor had been fully removed. They told her this in the recovery room. When she opened her eyes and saw a white ceiling, she thought, I'm still here. That was enough. She was in the hospital for 10 days. Her 2 neighbors took turns coming by. On the nights she could not sleep. She lay in the hospital bed and tried to picture Daniel's face. The young version came to her more easily than the recent one. She had not seen him in 3 years. She could not quite remember how he looked now. Home from the hospital, she opened the kitchen drawer. She meant to throw the letter away. She could not. She read it. The last line, that was the whole thing, that was all it was, stopped her. It was true. That was all it had been. One moment at one table. 3 years later she was still carrying it. She put the letter back. She could not throw it away yet. 2 months passed. Chemotherapy continued. Then one morning Daniel called again. She did not answer again. But this time instead of a text he left a voicemail. Mom, why aren't you picking up? I'm worried something's wrong. Can I come see you this weekend? His voice had something in it. Something close to fear. She texted back. You don't need to come. I'm fine. He came that Saturday. Alone. When Patricia opened the door she stopped for just a moment. He looked tired. He was wearing a jacket she did not recognize. He said, Mom, and the word came out low and careful. Inside, his eyes moved around the room. He noticed the hat she was wearing indoors. He said, Mom, are you sick? She said no. He said, Mom, are you keeping something from me? She walked to the kitchen and turned on the stove. He followed. Mom, he said again. She kept her eyes on the burner and said, I have stomach cancer. Stage 3. I had surgery 2 months ago. I'm in treatment now. The kitchen went quiet. The only sound was the burner and then the water beginning to heat. He said nothing. She did not turn around. After a long time he said, Why didn't you tell me? She said, I didn't think we were in a place where I could. After that neither of them spoke. The water came to a boil. She turned off the stove. Daniel sat down on the kitchen floor. He did not seem able to stand any longer. Patricia sat down beside him. The two of them sat on the kitchen floor next to each other. The pot ticked as it cooled. Wind moved past the window outside. Daniel started crying. She had not seen him cry in front of her in many years. He's grown, she thought. And still he cries. She started crying too, and she could not have said what kind of tears they were exactly. After a while he said, Mom, I'm sorry about what I said at Thanksgiving. I knew it hurt you and I couldn't figure out how to come back from it. Patricia said nothing. He said, How did you do all of this alone? She nodded. He cried again. Then she said, I wasn't easy either. I should have said something that day instead of just shutting down. I think I wanted to prove I didn't need you. But I was lonely. That's the truth. He gave a small quiet laugh. It sounded young. She laughed too. He stayed the night. They had breakfast together in the morning. He cooked scrambled eggs and made coffee and the eggs were a little dry. And the coffee was too weak. She ate every bite. At the door he said, Mom, tell me when your next treatment is. I want to go with you. She nodded and let him go. After he left she opened the kitchen drawer. She took out the envelope. She read the letter one last time. Then she tore it up. This time she could. She put the pieces in the trash and stood there for a moment. She felt lighter than she had in months. That one piece of paper had been heavier than she knew. Treatment is still ongoing. There are hard days, but she is not alone in it now. Daniel comes when he can and calls when he cannot. Not the short checking in calls from years ago, but longer ones, unhurried, about nothing much. What she had for lunch. Whether it rained. How his week went. Not deep. That is fine. Just the voice, often. She thinks sometimes about what it took to get here. She does not wish for the diagnosis. But she does not regret what it opened. The door had been closed for a long time. It is open now. That is what matters. If this story stayed with you, please subscribe. There are lives like this everywhere, quietly enduring and rarely told. We will keep telling them. Thank you for listening all the way to the end.